Julius Caesar, Act 1, Scene 2. So here we have a great flourish of trumpets that signals the arrival of Caesar and his entourage. We have a large crowd of people that includes both friends and foes accompanying him. It's possible that Marullus and Flavius are also here in chains, and this image of these two men in chains would serve as a potent visual image of Caesar's power and control over any attempts to undermine him. Also in the crowd is Caesar's right hand, Mark Antony, and the men who will become the prevailing forces in the conspiracy against Caesar. Now, Mark Antony, also known as Marcus Antonius, was related to Julius Caesar on his mother's side. He had been a staunch supporter of Caesar during the conflicts with Pompey, and he had served in Caesar's army when he was in Gaul. Now, in this scene, Mark Antony is all dressed for the course, because as indicated in scene 1, this is the Feast of the Lupercal. And during the holiday, the priests of the Lupercus would dress in loincloths made of goat skin, sacrifice goats, and then smear themselves with sacrificial blood. Then they would run through the city carrying this goat skin thong called a februa, and women would place themselves in the path of these men so that they could be touched by this thong or februa, which was believed to bring fertility and easy childbirth. Shakespeare makes Antony's exalted position pretty apparent here, because when he is asked to touch Calpurnia by Caesar, he says, absolutely, Caesar says this, and it is done. Caesar's first words to his wife here are to Calpurnia, his wife. She is Caesar's third wife, and she's the daughter of a friend of Pompey's. It does indicate that the marriage is most likely politically motivated, but she's this young, healthy bride, and she should be able to give Caesar a son. Interesting that he publicly blames her when my guess is that he's a little old to produce offspring, if you know what I mean. I'm not sure. And so notice that Caesar makes it clear that he believes in certain superstitions, but it's interesting that when a soothsayer comes to Caesar and warns him about the Ides of March, he basically just ignores that, showing himself to be pretty pompous. And that is all the interrupting for now. Here we go with Act 1, Scene 2 of Julius Caesar. It is on your page 539, and I will try to follow along with this text here on the screen.
Calpurnia! Peace ho! Caesar speaks! Calpurnia!
Here, my lord.
Stand you directly in Antonius' way when he does run his course.
Aye.
Antonius?
Caesar, my lord.
Forget not in your speed, Antonius, to touch Calpurnia. For our elders say the baron touched in this holy chase shake off their sterile curse.
I shall remember. When Caesar says do this, it is performed.
Set on and leave no ceremony out.
Caesar!
Ha! Who calls?
Let every noise be still. Peace yet again.
Who is it in the press that calls on me? I hear a tongue shriller than all the music cry Caesar. Speak! Caesar is turned to hear.
Beware the Ides of March.
What man is that?
A soothsayer bids you beware the Ides of March.
Set him before me. Let me see his face.
Fellow, come from the throng. Look upon Caesar.
What sayest thou to me now? Speak once again.
Beware the Ides of March.
He is a dreamer. Let us leave him. Pass!
Kind of pompous.
Will you go see the order of the course?
Not I.
I pray you do.
I am not gamesome. I do lack some part of that quick spirit that is in Antony. Let me not hinder, Cassius, your desires. I'll leave you.
Brutus, I do observe you now of late. I have not from your eyes that gentleness and show of love as I was wont to have. You bear too stubborn and too strange a hand over your friend that loves you.
Cassius, be not deceived. If I have veiled my look, I turn the trouble of my countenance merely upon myself. Vexed I am of late with passions of some difference, conceptions only proper to myself, which give some soil, perhaps, to my behaviours. But let not therefore my good friends be grieved, among which number Cassius be you one, nor construe any further my neglect than that poor Brutus, with himself at war, forgets the shows of love to other men.
Then
So Cassius says, I noticed that you don't seem as warm to me as usual. And Brutus says, well, lately I've been basically worrying. I have other things that I'm concerned about. And so here is where, one of the most famous conversations in history, here is where the jealous and manipulative Cassius is going to start to work on Brutus. He knows that Brutus can be manipulated somewhat, perhaps through flattery. And so he's going to do his very best to say, hey, Brutus, we don't have to stick with a Caesar. There are people in Rome who believe that you are the most noble of men, and perhaps you don't see this in yourself.
Brutus, I have much mistook your passion. By means whereof this breast of mine hath buried thoughts of great value, worthy cogitations. Tell me, good Brutus, can you see your face?
No, Cassius, for the eye sees not itself, but by reflection, by some other thing.
'Tis just. And it is very much lamented, Brutus, that you have no such mirrors as will turn your hidden worthiness into your eye, that you might see your shadow. I have heard where many of the best respect in Rome, except immortal Caesar, speaking of Brutus, and groaning underneath this age's yoke, have wished that noble Brutus had his eyes.
Into what dangers would you lead me, Cassius, that you would have me seek into myself for that which is not in me?
Therefore, good Brutus, be prepared to hear. And since you know you cannot see yourself so well as by reflection, I, your glass, will modestly discover to yourself that of yourself which you yet know
I'll
not
show
of.
you what you don't know about yourself.
And be not jealous on me, gentle Brutus. Were I a common laughter,
Don't
or
be
did use to
suspicious
stale
of
with ordinary oaths my love to every new protester? If you know that I do fawn on men and hug them hard, and after scandal them, or if you know that I profess myself in banqueting to all the rout, then hold me dangerous.
What means this shouting? I do fear that people choose Caesar for their king.
Aye. Do you fear it? Then must I think you would not have it so?
I would not, Cassius, yet I love him well. But wherefore do you hold me here so long? What is it that you would impart to me? If it be aught toward the general good, set honor in one eye and death in the other, and I will look on both indifferently. For let the gods so speed me, as I love the name of honor more than I fear death.
I know that virtue to be in you, Brutus, as well as I do know your outward favor. Well, honor is the subject of my story. I cannot tell what you and other men think of this life, but for my single self I had as lief not be, as live to be in awe of such a thing as I myself. I was born free as Caesar. So were you. We both are fed as well, and we can both endure the winter's cold as well as he. For once, upon a raw and gusty day, the troubled Tiber chafing with her shores, Caesar said to me, "Darest thou, Cassius, now leap in with me into this angry flood and swim to yonder point?" Upon the word, accoutred as I was, I plunged
Dressed
in and
as I
bade him follow.
was.
So indeed he did. The torrent roared, and we did buffet it with lusty sinews, throwing it aside and stemming it with hearts of controversy. But ere we could arrive the point proposed, Caesar cried, "Help me, Cassius, or I sink." I, as Aeneas, our great ancestor, did from the flames of Troy upon his shoulder the old Anchises bear, so from the waves of Tiber did I the tyrant Caesar. And this man is now become a god, and Cassius is a wretched creature and must bend his body if Caesar carelessly but nod on him. He had a fever when he was in Spain, and when the fit was on him, I did mark how he did shake. 'Tis true, this god did shake. His coward lips did from their colour fly, and that same eye whose bend doth awe the world did lose his lustre. I did hear him groan. Aye, and that tongue of his that bade the Romans mark him and write his speeches in their books. "Alas," he cried, "give me some drink, Titinius," as a sick girl. Ye gods, it doth amaze me a man of such a feeble temper should so get the start of the majestic world and bear the palm alone.
Another general shout. I do believe that.
Notice that in this section, Cassius's jealousy becomes very apparent. I want you to look back here because I sort of missed it. But Cassius tells a story about when he once challenged Caesar into a swimming match where they both jumped into the Tiber River. And Caesar goes into there and then all of a sudden screams, "Oh, help me, for I sink." And then Cassius tells a story about how he had to save Caesar from the Tiber. He tells another story of when Caesar became sick with a fever, and that he was quivering and shaking with a fever. And these, of course, we are supposed to take as indications that Caesar is perhaps too weak to rule. That is what Cassius seems to be indicating. Now they notice here in this line that there is another shout, and they're wondering what it is going on. Are they heaping more honors on Caesar?
Clauses are for some new honors that are heaped on Caesar.
My man, he doth bestride the narrow world like a colossus, and we petty men walk under his huge legs and peep about to find ourselves dishonorable graves. Men at some time are masters of their fates. The fault, dear Brutus, is not in our stars, but in ourselves that we are underlings.
famous line there. You've probably heard it from a popular movie, The Fault is in Our Stars. The idea, though, is that we are not meant to just be weak because that's sort of how we were born. The bottom line is that we have the power to be men and to raise up if we need to, he says.
Brutus and Caesar.
Always worried about the importance
What
of a
should be in
name,
that
Shakespeare
Caesar?
is.
Why should that name be sounded more than yours? Write them together. Yours is as fair a name. Sound them. It doth become the mouth as well. Weigh them. It is as heavy. Conjure with them. Brutus will start a spirit as soon as Caesar. Now, in the names of all the gods at once, upon what meat doth this our Caesar feed that he is grown so great? Age, thou art shamed. Rome, thou hast lost the breed of noble bloods. When went there by an age since the great flood, but it was famed with more than with one man? When could they say, till now, that talked of Rome, that her wide walks encompass but one man? Now is it Rome indeed, and room enough, when there is in it but one only man? Oh, you and I have heard our father say there was a Brutus once that would have booked the eternal devil to keep his state in Rome as easily as a king.
That you do love me, I am nothing jealous. What you would work me to, I have some aim. How I have thought of this and of these times I shall recount hereafter. For this present, I would not, so with love I might entreat you be any further moved. What you have said, I will consider. What you have to say, I will with patience hear, and find a time both meet to hear and answer such high things. Till then, my noble friend, chew upon this. Brutus had rather be a villager than to repute himself a son of Rome under these hard conditions as this time is like to lay upon us.
I'm glad that my weak words have struck with thus much show of fire from Brutus.
Now, a couple of words about the difference between Brutus and Cassius. The first thing is, I want you to understand that Brutus subscribed to the philosophy known as Stoicism. He was a Stoic. What that means is that to Stoics, the universe is completely rational and guided by fate. And therefore, one must learn to accept whatever happens with a strong and tranquil mind. Virtue, to a person like Brutus, means the attainment of valor, moral excellence, and righteousness. And it is the only key to a happy life, according to the Stoic. Vice is evil, leads only to unhappiness. So Stoicism encourages a man to be centered in his intellect and suppress his feelings. Now, I want you to notice that for Brutus, this becomes a double-edged sword. We're going to see places where Brutus's Stoicism seems almost inhuman and kind of strange. Now, Caius Cassius, on the other hand, was an Epicurean, and the philosophy of Epicureanism promoted the notion that freedom from physical pain and mental trouble was the goal of a happy life. So again, virtue, courage, and justice are considered to be the attributes needed to obtain wisdom, but unlike the intellectual center of Stoicism, Epicureans felt that knowledge was derived from the senses. So notice, Brutus, a cold and unwavering intellect, is what offers him that direct contrast to what we see in Cassius, whereas Cassius lives in his heart. He is very emotional and obviously the opposite of Stoic.
The games are done, and Caesar is returning.
As they pass by, pluck Casca by the sleeve, and he will, after his sour fashion, tell you what has proceeded worthy note today.
I will do so. But look you, Cassius. The angry
Something's
spot
wrong with
doth
Caesar. I
glow
wonder
on
what it
Caesar's
is.
brow, and all the rest look like a chidden train. Calpurnia's cheek is pale, and Cicero looks with such ferret and such fiery eyes as we have seen him in the Capitol being crossed in conference by some senators.
Casca will tell us what the matter is.
Antonius, Caesar, let me have men about me that are fat, sleek-headed men, and such as sleep o' nights. Yon Cassius has a lean and hungry look. He thinks too much. Such men are dangerous.
Fear him not, Caesar. He's not dangerous. He is a noble Roman and well given.
Would he were fatter! But I fear him not. Yet if my name were liable to fear, I do not know the man I should avoid so soon as that spare Cassius. He reads much. He is a great observer, and he looks quite through the deeds of men. He loves no plays, as thou dost, Antony. He hears no music. Seldom he smiles, and smiles in such a sort as if he mocked himself, and scorned his spirit that could be moved to smile at anything. Such men as he be never at heart's ease whilst they behold a greater than themselves, and therefore are they very dangerous. I rather tell thee what is to be feared than what I fear, for always I am Caesar. Come on my right hand, for this ear is deaf, and tell me truly what thou thinkst of him.
You pulled me by the cloak. Would you speak with me?
Aye, Casca. Tell us what hath chanced today that Caesar looks so sad.
Why, you were with him, were you not?
I should not then ask Casca what had chanced.
Why, there was a crown offered him. And being offered him, he put it by with the back of his hand, thus. And then the people fell a-shouting.
What was the second noise for?
Why, for that too.
They shouted thrice. What was the last cry for?
Why, for that too.
Was the crown offered him thrice?
Aye, marry was. And he put it by thrice, every time gentler than other. And at every putting by, mine honest neighbours shouting.
Who offered him the crown?
Why, Antony.
Tell us the manner of it, gentle Casca.
I can as well be hanged as tell the manner of it. It was mere foolery, I did not mark it. I saw Mark Antony offer him a crown. Yet it was not a crown neither, it was one of these coronets. And as I told you, he put it by once. But for all that, to my thinking, he would fain have had it. Then he offered it to him again, then he put it by again, but to my thinking he was very loath to lay his fingers off it. And then he offered it the third time. He put it the third time by, and still as he refused it, the rabblement hooted and clapped their chopped hands and threw up their sweaty nightcaps, and uttered such a deal of stinking breath because Caesar refused the crown that it had almost choked Caesar, for he swooned it and fell down at it. And for my own part, I durst not laugh for fear of opening my lips and receiving the bad air.
Be soft, I pray you. What did Caesar swoon?
He fell down in the marketplace and foamed at mouth and was speechless.
'Tis very like he hath the falling sickness.
No, Caesar hath it not, but you and I and honest Casca, we have the falling sickness.
I know not what you mean by that. But I am sure Caesar fell down. If the tag-rag people did not trap him and hiss him, according as he pleased and displeased them, as they used to do the players in the theatre, I am no true man.
What said he when he came unto himself?
Marry, before he fell down, when he perceived the common herd was glad he refused the crown, he plucked me ope his doublet and offered them his throat to cut. And I had been a man of any occupation. If I would not have taken him at a word, I might go to hell among the rogues. And so he fell. When he came to himself again, he said if he had done or said anything amiss, he desired their worships to think it was his infirmity. 3 or 4 wenches where I stood cried, alas, good soul, and forgave him with all their hearts. But there's no heed to be taken of them. If Caesar had stabbed their mothers, they would have done no less.
And after that, he came thus sad away.
Aye.
Did Cicero say anything?
Aye. He spoke Greek.
To what effect?
Nay, and I tell you that, I'll ne'er look you in the face again. But those that understood him smiled at one another and shook their heads. For mine own part, it was Greek to me. I could tell you more news, too. Marullus and Flavius, for pulling scarfs off Caesar's images, are put to silence. Fare you well. There was more foolery yet, if I could remember it.
Will you sup with me tonight, Casca?
No, I'm promised for.
Will you dine with me tomorrow?
Aye, if I be alive, and your mind hold, and your dinner worth eating.
Good. I will expect you.
Do so. Farewell, both.
What a blunt fellow is this grown to be. He was quick mettle when he went to school.
So is he now in execution of any bold or noble enterprise, however he puts on this tardy form. This rudeness is a sauce to his good wit, which gives men stomach to digest his words with better appetite.
And so it is. For this time, I will leave you. Tomorrow, if you please to speak with me, I will come home to you, or if you will, come home to me and I will wait for you.
I will do so. Till then, think of the world.
Now we have Cassius left alone on stage, and he's going to deliver the first soliloquy of the play. You'll remember that a soliloquy is a dramatic device that allows a character to express the real truth behind thoughts and feelings and actions. And in this speech, Cassius exposes both his Machiavellian tendencies, this kind of unscrupulous and unprincipled means to achieve a dishonorable end, and you also will see the delight in his own deviousness. Essentially, he reveals that he's going to forge a bunch of different notes and letters and then have them thrown in at Cassius's window. At Brutus's window, so that maybe then these notes will proclaim the respect that people feel for Brutus, and perhaps indicate to him that others are not satisfied with Caesar's absolute leadership. So, essentially, Brutus is going to see if he can rot the metal that Brutus is made of with fiery passion and praise, and that perhaps maybe he can change the very nature of Brutus and get him involved in the conspiracy.
Well, Brutus, thou art noble. Yet I see thy honourable metal may be wrought from that it is disposed. Therefore it is meet that noble minds keep ever with their likes. For whoso firm that cannot be seduced. Caesar doth bear me hard, but he loves Brutus. If I were Brutus now, and he were Cassius, he should not humour me. I will this night, in several hands, in at his windows throw, as if they came from several citizens, writings, all tending to the great opinion that Rome holds of his name, wherein obscurely Caesar's ambition should be glanced at. And after this, let Caesar seat him sure, for we will shake him, or worse days endure.
And that is the end of Act 1, Scene 2.